Hey guys, so we're going to do a quick run through of the respiratory system. We're going to talk about the major organs and the function. So the major organs, well, first of all, the function of the respiratory system is to take in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide. So with that being said, we know that the primary major organ of the respiratory system are the lungs, because that's where gas exchange takes place. So the start is the nose and the mouth. The nasal, which is your nose, and the oral cavity, which is your mouth. So these two things breathe, you bring in the air, and it cleans and moistens the air, it filters the air as it comes into your nose or into your mouth. So the hairs in your nose filter the air. In your mouth, it warms up the air as it comes in. Okay, the next step is going to be the pharynx or your throat. So this leads from the nasal and the oral cavity to the larynx. And so both food and air go through the pharynx. So it's a part of the respiratory and the digestive system. And so when we get to digestive, we will hear pharynx again, but just know that that is your throat. And that's what connects your nasal cavity, your oral cavity, to your larynx. Okay? And it is made up of three parts, but we're not going to talk about it because you're not responsible for those three parts. All right. So the larynx is going to be where your vocal cords are found, and it's connected to your trachea. And then you've got your epiglottis. Your epiglottis is really important because that is what stops food from going down your trachea into your lungs. So, like if you ever been talking or got choked up on your spit or got choked up on some water, then that means your epiglottis wasn't working right. And that happens all the time. That happens to me all the time. I'll be drinking water and choke on it because my epiglottis is like, oh, is that air or is that water? And so when food comes through, it closes so that the food could go down the esophagus and into your stomach. And sometimes it doesn't close, and sometimes you get choked up on your water, or you're choked up on your food. Um, and so that is your epiglottis. It's very, very, very important. All right, your trachea and your bronchus. So your trachea or your windpipe, it connects your larynx to your bronchus. And so your bronchus are the tubes that lead to your left and your right lung. Okay, so very important. These two are very, very important. So trachea is important, bronchus is important, larynx is important, trachea important, bronchus important. Okay. All right. So the bronchioles and the alveoli, sorry. So the bronchioles are just like small, tiny little passages that come off the bronchus into the left and the right lung. And so, like, if you ever see olus, then that just means like super tiny. Um, that's like the scientific word for super tiny. So they're just like really the small passageways for air that come off the bronchi and then into the lungs. And so at the end of these bronchioles are alveoli. And so these are air sacs where gas exchange happens. So this is where your blood comes through your lungs, through the capillaries of your lungs, and the alveoli are where they take out take out carbon dioxide out of your blood and they put oxygen back in. So the alveoli are very, very, very important. And this happens through diffusion, which is like a pressure thing. So the carbon dioxide will be pulled out of your blood and then oxygen will be put into your blood. So like the carbon dioxide goes where there's no carbon dioxide and the oxygen goes where there's no oxygen. Okay. The diaphragm. So you've probably heard this a lot, but your diaphragm is a little sheet of skeletal muscle, and it extends across the bottom of your thoracic cavity. So it sits right up under your lungs, and it just pushes and pulls against your lungs when you inhale and exhale. So like if you're going to take a really deep breath, so you take a really deep breath, then your diaphragm is what helps you take those deep breaths and really open up your lungs. Okay, so it's very, very important. So it's constantly up and down, helping your lungs to contract, to bring in air. And it's very important because it separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So it separates your lungs and your heart from like your stomach and your intestines. All right, so there are lots of diseases of the respiratory system. So the common ones are like the flu, pneumonia, enterovirus, bronchitis is a really new one, which you guys read about in your stations. And these are like the short term, easy to fix viruses. So like the flu is very short term. Pneumonia is short term, but pneumonia and the flu can be dangerous because they affect your respiratory system. Bronchitis can be dangerous. Bronchitis can actually be a long term as well, and we'll see that. All right, so you've got other ones that are chronic or long term, so like asthma, which is something you guys have heard. Bronchitis, like I said, can be long term or short term. Emphysema, COPD. So emphysema is where your alveoli don't work very well, and so the gas exchange doesn't happen as smoothly and it's not as efficient. COPD is it's not very important, but COPD is kind of like a mix of everything. And that's caused most of the time, like emphysema and COPD are mostly caused by like smoking. All right, so then you've got lung cancer. Lung cancer is, like any cancer, is just an uncontrolled growth of cells. And it's associated with smoking, and it can be caused by secondhand smoke, and it could kill you. Obviously, as we know that cancer can kill you. Lung cancer is a very serious disease because it affects your lungs, and your lungs are very important because you need your lungs to breathe. All right. That's it. If you guys have any questions, make sure you email me or send me a message on Schoology. I hope this helped, and I will see you in the next video.